Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be rebuilding a Vespa Stator. Let's start with the Stator rebuild.
These are both stators out of a P150X. They are identical. This one I've just put new points and condenser in and that sort of stuff. They get brought in to get rebuilt quite often, and the reason why is because the wires that Piaggio used on the P150X Vespa specifically, but in that era of Vespa, they had a tendency to break down. So I've just replaced these wires over here. I'm going to cut this open to show you what I mean. The insulation on the wires tends to break down. Now, obviously Piaggio had no idea that this would happen. It's only happened, what, 30, 40 years later. But when you pull these wires out, you can see what the insulation looks like. It just breaks off with your fingers. The green wire was especially bad. But even these ones, if you bend them a few times, insulation just comes off. So a lot of the time what will happen is a bike will be riding along fine, the customer will say everything was 100%, and then all of a sudden it just started dying and we're now not getting spark and all that sort of stuff. And you'll look at the Stator, like this one over here is in incredibly clean condition. Still got its original Ducati. If you look inside there, you can see the Ducati stamp. It has the original Ducati contact breaker, the original Ducati condenser. Low mileage Stator. But I can almost guarantee you, if we cut this off over here, we're going to have wires touching inside, and that's just one of those things with Vespas. It's something to look out for. The P150Xs often have it on their kill switch wire because, again, the kill switch wire on the P150X is green. And yeah, there you go. What would have happened is these two wires would have been crossed and would have been shorting across each other over here where the insulation is broken off. So those two wires, this one would have been earth, this one would have been lighting circuit, would have been shorting against each other. And what I was saying earlier, the P150Xs and the P200Es use a green wire, this same green wire, for the kill switch wire and the wiring harness inside the bike. And over time it corrodes in the wiring harness and it just touches the earth somewhere along the line, and then it's as though the kill switch has been turned on. So you turn the bike off, cut a dead short on the kill switch, and then that basically puts an earth on the coil wire and you won't get spark. So we do this often. Get these stators in, we pull the old wires out, soldering new ones. So they just get soldered in the coils, like so. You heat it up nicely with the soldering iron. Wire just pops straight out. And this would have been the old faulty wire. That insulation is so bad. One of our new wires. Skin off about 5 to 6 mils. Twist it up nicely so that it stays gathered. Take our soldering iron. Tin the wire so you can get a good coating of solder into that wire. It's important that you tin wires first before soldering them, because if you don't tin it, the solder hasn't absorbed into the core of the wire. This way that entire core will melt into the solder when we solder it in here. Now we can probably heat the solder up from the back side. Like that. And sometimes get lucky and actually get it through there, but it looks like that hole is a little bit blocked. So we're going to cut this a touch shorter so that it doesn't short on anything. And we're going to just solder it in on the side over here. Okay. It's always important to inspect the solder afterwards, because like this over here, you see how it's got that like, it's almost like a matte finish to it compared to this side where it's got like shiny finish. You want to see that shine. If it's matte like that, it means that the heat wasn't all the way through. And you can have a dry joint. So let's just hold this up vertically quickly. That's what we want to see. Okay. So that wire routes and out the stator at the bottom. You want to keep these wires as tucked as you possibly can, because you've obviously got a flywheel that slides over here that's rotating, and you don't want it to be catching any wires. The wires need to be nice and tucked away, as tucked as possible. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to desolder the blue wire. It doesn't look very blue. I know it's blue. Yeah, that wire was just falling to pieces. You can see all of the corrosion inside of the strands as well, which means that this wire really can't transfer much power through it. It's just going to have massive amounts of resistance inside there. Okay, we're not going to put our blue wire in just yet, because else you can't get to the black wire which is underneath it. So we're going to take off our little rubbing pad over here. Just put that flat. So this just sits on the side here. You normally put a little bit of grease on this, and what it does is it rubs your cam with grease, so that every time the cam comes past and pushes on the contact breaker and opens and closes it, it does it in a smooth fashion. So this is just to keep that part clean. Okay, now get this wire loose like so. You should be able to pull it out. Okay, so trim off our 5 mils again. Tin our wire again. Now in this case over here, I don't want this piece to ever, even though it's pretty far away and it's below our plastic line over here, I don't want it to ever get in danger of touching the flywheel. So what I'm actually going to do, I'm going to grab a small piece of heat. And we're going to shrink it over the edge of it over there, just so that it protects that, so that it's completely insulated. Okay, now that is nice and protected over there. Blue wire is going to go out that same hole as the black wire. We're going to bend it nice and tight. It also comes straight out there. And then when the stator gets placed in, the wires need to be coming up and out the back side over here. So now we can go ahead and put some heat shrink. I use a smaller heat shrink first, a 4.8, which goes on super tight over these 3 wires, which means that you've got to actually make sure that they don't cross anywhere, because if they cross, you won't push them on further. So make sure that the wires are nicely gathered, that they stay in line. So it's nice and neat. And now we can go with a slightly bigger 6.4. And this one I only shrink at the top and at the bottom. And the reason why I do that is shrinking it at the top allows it to go into the casings a little bit easier. Shrinking it at the bottom seals it off nicely. And leaving it large in the middle means that when the casing, because the casing's got a hole like that these wires travel through, if it touches against the heat shrink, it insulates the heat a little bit from getting to the wires on the inside, because there's now an air gap around the outside of that shrink. So it just gives it a little bit more protection. You can feel it's got a bit of flex over here now. Just adds a little bit more protection onto this wire set. And that's basically that. Now it's time to go into the bike, and then we cut these wires shorter as we need them. We put the lugs on that we need on the end of it, and then that's a rebuilt stator.
This is our new merch. Come to the shop to come get it yourself, and click the bell notification to see more. Click like and subscribe. Thanks guys.